situation now with the double signing days and things like that. So as planned, we expected most of our work, the majority of our work, to finish up on signing day one and then close up on a few pieces on signing day two. It'll be interesting to see how this thing plays out next year with some of the challenges with the early signing period, with some of the staff turnovers that we've had with head coaches at other schools. Will more guys wait till the second signing period or not? We'll see. So, obviously there's been a lot of changes in college football this year, so that'll be interesting. But I think overall, very pleased with the class. Very pleased with the class and what we've been able to do in our region, and then obviously opening up some different opportunities this year in Florida, and then obviously in a similar area as Florida, Germany. Going to places like Germany, so it's pretty exciting. Brandon Collier's done a really good job. It's pretty amazing. He's a young man who actually played for Coach Spencer at UMass and has started this kind of European training program and tour. You see guys signing all over the country. So pretty exciting. Pretty exciting from that perspective, and we're really excited about that young man that we were able to pick up. As you guys know, we did have a couple guys that signed today. And actually had one that had really signed in the first signing period, but wanted to keep it private until he went and played in the All-Star game. So Joseph Darkwa, young man from Germany, 6'5", 272 pounds, a skinny 272 pounds. We were able to watch him on game tape. He's probably a lot more advanced than we anticipated him being, and then being able to watch all of his workout tapes. Very athletic and excited about kind of his future. Hakeem Beeman, I guess this is in alphabetical order, not the other order, excuse me. Obviously being able to get the young man from Germany was important, especially at the defensive tackle position. But then on top of that, for us being able to go out and get some other guys in this class to finish up. Devon Ellies is the guy that signed with us. We're doing pretty good at his high school right now, which is McDonough High School. PJ Mustafer from the same high school, same position, both defensive tackles. He signed, played in the Polynesian All-Star game, wanted to announce it there, but it signed in the early signing period. Obviously comes from a Polynesian background, had a bunch of family over there to celebrate it, which was awesome. We're really excited about his future and what he's going to be able to do moving forward. Daquan Hardy was a guy that we went back and forth on the entire process. What really helped us was two things. Number one, he came to camp last year, and in our camp ran 4.4, and there's just not too many human beings on the planet that run 4.4, and we had it in our own camp, and that was going into his junior year. And then on top of that, he had a dominant senior year. Unbelievable amount of touchdowns, unbelievable amount of interceptions. I think in the state championship game, I think he had 5 touchdowns in the state championship game through receptions and interceptions. So for us being the state school, we're always going to take care of the players in our state, and he earned it. Kind of more of an old school approach in terms of having a really dominant senior year and kind of going from there. So got a chance to get to know him and his family really well on the official visit, spent some time around him. Obviously, Coach Smith has got strong ties there, and we're excited about what we were able to do going in that direction. Smith Vilbert reminds us a lot of Jason Owe. He's only played football for 1 year. His potential and his ceiling is very high because it's still all new to him. Watched him play basketball, was blown away about his movement on the court. Another guy is 6'5", he's 243 pounds right now. And I think he's got a chance to have the type of length and the type of athleticism off the edge that we're looking for. So overall, really good group of guys. And then obviously the wide receiver position was important for us in T.J. Jones, another young man that we were able to get out of Florida, Lake City, Florida, Columbia High School. We kind of fell in love with him late in the process. Obviously, Coach Sider's connection there, came on a visit, got to know him really well. His high school had a bunch of offers from all over the country. And again, another prospect that we think has a lot of upside. So feel good about how we closed the class out. Still got a lot of work to do. Obviously, we've already started winter workouts. We did make a change to winter workouts. We've always done those in the morning. And we moved those to the afternoon, which is something I've never done before. But with our conversations with sports science, we spend all our time talking to our players about the importance of nutrition, hydration, and sleep. But then as coaches, we get them up at 5 o'clock in the morning. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense. So move that to the afternoon. We're in the middle of that right now. We'll give the staff off for a few days. After today, give them all Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then get back to work. And spring ball will be here before we know it. So excited about how the class filled out. Excited about what we're going to be able to do in the off season. Obviously, a lot more question marks going into this season than maybe we've had in the past. But excited about where we're going.
We'll start on the phone with Rich Garcella from the Red Eagle.
Hi James, how are you?
Hey Rich, how are you, buddy?
I'm okay, thanks. James, with the number of transfers that you have, is that a cause for concern or more a sign of the times?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think the point that you made at the end is how we're looking at it. It's changed. College athletics has changed. College football has changed. There's been a lot of rule changes in the last 5 years that have impacted college football. You got the graduate transfer that started a few years ago, and that was to allow guys that had graduated with their undergraduate degree to go get a master's degree at another school that offered that graduate degree. Well, that's not how the graduate transfer played out. That's what it essentially was supposed to be. It's morphed into something that it was not intended to be. We allowed agents to talk to players from the time they're a freshman now until the time they're a senior. That's a rule change. You weren't able to talk to agents until their eligibility was up. And I know there was a lot of talk within the NCAA and the membership institutions about deregulation a few years ago. Especially the rules that they didn't really feel like were enforceable. I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense though, because there's still a lot of people that aren't going to do it because you're not supposed to, and that's concerning. The transfer rule, I think, was magnified this year, obviously with the changes with the transfer portal and the perception of guys being able to transfer and get eligibility right away. And there's so many things that go with that. Our situation is a little bit different than most because we have such a large number of guys that graduate early, and most of our guys have already graduated. So our situation's a little bit different. And for me, ultimately, I want our guys to be able to chase their dreams and be happy and be successful, and we're unbelievably supportive of that. For me, my concern isn't really about Penn State. I'm worried about college football. I'm worried about what we're teaching young people. I think one of the greatest things that I think that college football and college athletics teaches, it's a tremendous complementary aspect to what they're learning in the classroom. The mental toughness, the physical toughness, how to overcome adversity, those types of things. And I worry that we're creating a situation where it's path of least resistance. And in my life, I don't know if that's ever been the right choice or the right path. So I'm concerned, I really am. But what I've tried to do is I've tried to look at it a little bit like basketball. Basketball went through this a few years ago. And there's some specific programs that I've thought of and I've studied, but I won't get into the specific programs. But I look at basketball, and some programs struggled with the new basketball rules, the one and done, and they struggled with it, they fought it for a while, and those programs struggled. They didn't evolve, they did not grow, they did not adapt to the new environment. And then over time, some of those programs decided they were going to embrace the new model and grow and move with it, and that's what we're going to do. I get it, it can be frustrating, it can be confusing. I get all those types of things, but we're going to embrace the new model. We're going to learn to work within it, you know, it's really the sign of the times in college athletics. I looked last week. I think at that time there was 1,789 guys in the transfer portal. I worry that all those guys are going to find the right spot. So I just worry. I worry who's advising. I worry about where the information is coming from. I worry that there's a shift right now to the emphasis being on the NFL and not on college athletics, which is, you know, to me, education first. It's how I got into this industry. And don't get me wrong, the NFL is a part of it as well, but to me, the emphasis should be on getting education first. And then if the NFL thing happens for you, awesome. And we're gonna work very hard at helping you achieve that goal as well. But I worry about the shift. I worry about the mentality a little bit right now. I see players constantly posting, guys commit, and they say, I'm gonna be at school X for 3 to 5 years. I mean, literally, that's the first thing. They're already thinking about 3 years. And I'm just a big believer that this model has worked for a very long time. And it's not perfect. It really isn't. And I know it's a long answer. I probably should stop talking. But I'm concerned. And this model has worked for a long time. It is not perfect. But I think about so many people that I know, whether it was small school football, whether it's major college football, that this worked for. Created opportunities for guys to get a great education, to learn mental toughness, to learn physical toughness, to take advantage of strength coaches and trainers and doctors and coaches and administration and off the field player development programs. There's so much good that comes from this. And I just worry that the direction this is going, that at some point the model is going to break. And I'm concerned about that. So, you know, I want what's best for the players. I want what's best for colleges and universities. I want what's best for our game. But I think, you know, we're in a challenging time right now. There's no doubt about it. But I know at Penn State, we're going to embrace the new model. We're going to grow. We're going to evolve, and we're going to find a way to be successful in it.
Joe Giuliano, Philadelphia Inquirer.
Hi James, how are you?
Good, Joe.
Getting back to that transfer issue, what is your level of concern losing that kind of depth off of your roster? And would you consider bringing in graduate transfers to fill some of those spots?
Yeah, I think that's what's happening all over the country. Is you're losing graduate transfers, you're losing guys to the portal, and you're going to have to approach and take transfers from other schools. That's the situation that a lot of programs in the country are in right now. So yeah, I think you're going to have to look at it from both perspectives.
Chris Heidel, Curb FM.
They have not currently joined the call.
All right, thank you. We'll open it up to questions here in the room. Raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you.
Hey James, how you doing? Good, Mark. Get a haircut.
Yeah, I did.
Looks great.
Thank you. Hey, how are you handling the situation with these kids who are transferring but are still in school? Are they still members of the team? Are they working out with guys? It seems like that would be an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, and that's all the things that go along with this that are tricky, and the NCAA's left it a little bit gray, so each school can kind of handle it how they want to. I also think this is something that at the beginning of the year, the compliance directors across the country went up and said, here's this new rule, and then kind of left it at that and didn't get into great detail, and same thing with coaches, and each school's handling it different. So you may have a policy that you're going to cut the scholarship at the end of the semester and that they're moving out of the locker room and those types of things, but then another school's treating it differently, and then the players will come and say, well, this school's doing it this way, another school's doing it different. So it's challenging. I think obviously there's going to come a point this year, because it's new to everybody, that it's kind of a work in progress and it's kind of fluid. But I do think there's going to come a point where we're going to have to sit down and say, this is how we're handling it moving forward. It's not new anymore, there's no gray area, and this is how we're going to have to do it. that takes what's in the player's best interest into account, but also gives you a chance to manage your own roster and understand how we're going to handle it here at Penn State.
James, where do you see Daquan Hardy fitting in on your roster at this point, and what led to him getting an offer so late in the process?
Okay, I'll repeat it. I think I kind of already answered the second part of the question, but I'll go through it again. But the first part is we recruited him as a corner and possible athlete. We know he can be a wide receiver as well. There's a lot of conversations about that. We know he can be a return man. We know he can be a special teams guy. But it really came down to taking Daquan to what I had mentioned earlier is we had documented times from our camp from 2 years ago on him that ran 4.4, and then it was evaluating his senior tape. He had a dominant senior year. I want to say over 25 touchdowns. I want to say over 10 interceptions. I want to say 5 touchdowns in the state championship game. And I think what happens sometimes with coaches, you get so caught up in the eyeball test and measurements. You know, Daquan's not a big, imposing guy at this point of his career, but if you put the tape on and watch his production, he had as good of a senior year as anybody in the country. That combined with the fact that we had documented times on him and knew he ran 4.4, that we said, hey, we got a kid in our state who's a unbelievably productive football player and is a winner. That this is the type of guy that you know, really, this is what it's supposed to be about. You're gonna have guys that you get involved with early on and getting them on board. There's guys gonna be in the middle, and there's guys gonna be late. I think, you know, Christian Campbell, I think you guys remember Christian Campbell and Torrance Brown were 2 guys that we offered before the night before, you know, signing day, and both have had really good careers here. You know, one is, you know, is bouncing around the NFL right now, and one had a great career for us before it was cut short with some injuries. So, you know, there's a lot of paths of how you get, you know, to a certain place. That's in recruiting, that's you know, in relationships, that's with jobs. You know, I remember you know, interviewing for my first head coaching position, and you know, that thing took a lot of turns, but it worked out the way it was supposed to work out. You know, so you know, that's life.
Hey James, you guys, since we last talked, obviously parted ways with David Corley. How difficult was it for you to come to that decision, and also going along that with Coach Parker coming in? What do you think are some of his kind of best attributes, and how did you identify him?
Yeah, you know, I am. I think you guys know I'm a relationship-driven guy. So whether that's with the players, or whether that's with the staff, or whether that's with my family, those things are really, really challenging for me. I'd love to go to my whole career with never doing that. You know, I've done it now in 9 years. I've done it twice, and still struggle with that today because I understand the impact that it has. I look at the whole picture of it, but I also have a responsibility to the other coaches and staff members in my program, and I also have a responsibility to our players. And I also have a responsibility to the lettermen and the fans and those type of things. So you got to balance that. But it is not an easy decision, and I never make these decisions on an island as well. You know, it still bothers me. You know, it really does. But again, I got